great job in the film. Just marvelous.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Um, Tell me how you got involved in acting, because that's one of the stories I was reading about, and how it kind of helped your growth as a person. How did you get involved in acting?
Well, it was when I was very young, about 6 years old. So a couple of years after I was diagnosed, and we've been kind of working on that. Um, I got into it because at the time I was very much into trains. We all had I had my little obsessions, for maybe a year at a time. It would kind of come in phases. Um, and of course, nowadays I'm into like all of those things. It's funny how it comes back. But at the time, I was very much into trains, locomotives, just like the old cars and stuff. We would watch the Polar Express every once in a while. Um, and in our town, there was this Amtrak thing. I believe it was Amtrak. And the new Christmas Carol movie had come out. And they were doing a tour with a train full of like props from the movie. I can't remember. I think it was a CGI movie, so they weren't really props. There
Yeah.
wasn't a movie for them to be in. But they were doing this tour with this train, and it was stuff from A Christmas Story. I mean, never mind, A Christmas Carol. And we went there, and at the time, I was very, very sensitive to loud noises. So I had my big earmuffs on for the loud train. I believe I had a meltdown over how loud the train was at one point. But my mom, she saw that I liked The Christmas Carol and the trains. So by us, there was a theater production of A Christmas Carol going on, our local theater. And every single kid who auditioned would get a part if they went up and sang something from the song or did a dance. To this day, I am not a good dancer, but we went there and I did my audition and I sang "Thank You for the Music" by ABBA, because at the time my mom was very much into Mamma Mia, so I was always hearing that music, whether it be in the car or on the TV. The thing is, I went up there and I told the casting director lady, okay, I'm going to sing "Thank You for the Music," but I'm only going to sing one word and I won't dance. So she kind of worked with me here. It's only one word. And eventually she got me to sing a verse or two. So I sang a little bit of "Thank You for the Music." And eventually I got cast as Tiny Tim. And I was in that production for a while at, little me, age 6. I was the only kid who did a British accent. Walked around with my crutches. And from there, we did some commercials here and there, a couple short films for universities. First big thing, really, I believe, was Revolution, which I did. I played I played a young version of one of the main characters. And then I went on to, I believe, American Horror Story or Left Behind. And then I did The Walking Dead. And then I did Tysons Run.
So how did acting help your growth, help your social skills? I've heard you alluded this in other interviews. I'm just curious, how did it help you?
It certainly helps a lot, because with acting, you have to do a lot of eye contact, purposeful movements of your face, body language, tone of voice. You have to harness these things to become a character. And, for me, as I got older, all these things kind of came naturally because I had learned them in the years prior. But I think for younger me, learning how to properly use those skills to act, I feel like it probably helped quite a bit.
Do you know of other people who have been diagnosed with autism who have done the same thing, who have gotten into acting in order to just grow as a person?
I believe I've known a couple over the years, but not right now personally.
I was just curious. How did you get involved in Tysons Run? And by the way, we should tell people who are watching us, Tysons Run comes out. But how did you get involved in Tysons Run?
Yeah, the 4th and the 11th.
11th, I'm sorry.
Yeah. how did I get involved in Tysons Run? It was, for the most part, a opportunity that came in like most of the other ones that I've done. You get the notice from your agent, they'll send you sides, and then you prepare. And this was way pre-pandemic. This was back in like 2018. So I got to go and audition in person for Kim Bass and Lisa Hamill, the casting director of the movie. And so it was just a lot of preparation to make sure that I was playing this character respectfully, that it was realistic, that wasn't some offensive, 50s caricature of, oh, well, this is a mentally challenged person. It's not, we're much past that in this more inclusive, progressive time where you can find actors who are actually on the spectrum for, roles that are on the spectrum, or actually, some part of LGBTQ for an LGBTQ character. You can do all those things now. So there was no excuse for a bad caricature of Tyson. It was a lot of preparation to make sure that it was respectful and, just a realistic person that you're seeing.
Yeah. Was this a role that you automatically embraced, that you wanted to do because of the content? I mean, did you get the script and think that's something I really want to do because of, where I was as a child and where this character is in the film?
I thought more about just, this would be a cool challenge and it would be okay because I'm on the spectrum. I've come a very long way from how I used to be as a kid. I credit occupational therapy. I credit really good parenting and acceptance over the years of who I am. Letting me go out and do my own thing. So I'm very, very independent now. So it was less, okay, this was me as a kid, but there was absolutely an aspect of that too. But I just saw it as a challenge. It would be a very interesting character to play because prior to Tyson's Run, I had never done anything like that before. Something so heavily rooted in, you have to become this character for it to work. So it was an interesting challenge and I took it and it worked out well in the end.
Did you identify with any of his struggles? I mean, did you read the script and think, that's where I was at one point?
Yeah, certainly. Especially him going through school and not knowing for sure how to meld with all the other kids, or knowing what was perceived as cool to everybody else. Like me as a kid, I was certainly awkward. I had few friends, like I had maybe 3 or 4 in school growing up. It wasn't the easiest, I wasn't the normal kid who wore the silly bands, who made the loon bands, who talked about how bad Justin Bieber was, because that was the whole thing at the time. It did not come naturally to me. So there was definitely an aspect of, okay, I can relate somewhat to this because that was my growth as a kid. I didn't know those really fine nuances.
In terms of people who watch the film, what do you want people to walk away learning or thinking about? I mean, what's the message here for the audience from your perspective?
After the past couple of years, we really need nice, hopeful family movies that anybody can go and enjoy. And there is certainly a lot of that in Tyson's Run. I hope you go and see it. I hope you enjoy it. I hope it makes you feel hopeful. And for parents of neurodivergent children who have perhaps been anxious to let them go and experience the world in some capacity, I hope they see it and feel empowered to let their kids do their own thing. If my parents hadn't done that when I was a child, if they didn't let me go and perform in a Christmas carol, I wouldn't be anywhere near where I am today. So I just hope everybody enjoys it and it has something for everyone.
I haven't read everything that has been written about you, but I think there are going to be people that are going to be surprised that you are on the spectrum.
Oh, certainly.
Yeah. And have you been public about your past, or is this going to be something that people are now discovering about your past?
I think it'll be a new discovery for most people. Precocious little me ages ago, like
Hmm.
around the time when I was doing those student short films, I would do an interview every once in a while for like, I think a premiere. You can look this up. Like when I was little, like I believe for one of them, I was like, and I am on the spectrum, like the autism spectrum, or something like that. Or I was like, I have Asperger's, like a little proud kid about it. So it's not like new information. I mean, that's who I was. I mean, to an extent, that's who I am now. But yeah, like you mentioned, nobody can really tell because for the most part, I'm just a normal guy. I mean, I've got my quirks, but we all grow as we age, and me now and me when I was little, there are completely different people.
Wow. Wow. And acting played a big role in that.
Yeah, for
And
sure, because
yeah,
you learn how to work with people on a set, and
yeah.
especially when you do it over and over, and you kind of learn the subtleties of what is
Hmm.
accepted and what isn't, and just how to interact with people.
Hmm.
Because even on The Walking Dead, like I was very into cameras, and I would bring a Polaroid every once in a while, and I would take pictures with some of the cast members and like the crew, and the whole time I would just be talking about cameras. So like even it's not like, oh, this only stopped when I was 10 years old. I mean, I've still been growing, and now I'm kind of at the peak of, okay, I'm an adult now. I understand things. I can drive. I can get a job somewhere. I can, do all these things that I didn't before. So you can't really ever just look at somebody and say, oh, they have autism, because I'll wrap this up, this interlude I'm doing up in a minute after this. But I spoke with my mom earlier about my journey through the school system when I was younger. Um, it took a lot of wrangling by my parents to get the school district in Texas where we were to even recognize that I was anywhere on the spectrum and needed special attention. Um, I can't remember the exact term, but there was a person who was asked to evaluate me to make sure that, okay, this kid needs special attention. And this person, they did like tests. I can't remember. Of course, I was like 4 years old when this was happening. Um, and this person said that there was no way I could be on the spectrum because I, quote, didn't talk like a robot.
Mhm.
Because there's all those preconceived notions of, okay, this child is autistic. This is how this kid's going to speak and behave. They're going to be fidgeting the whole time. Which of course it's a spectrum. Some people do that, some people don't. I don't. I mean, at the most, I'll pick at my fingers, but there's just so much nuance to it that people sometimes don't recognize. And as time goes on, and we have movies like this, I think it's great that people are starting to have a grasp that not everybody is pushed into a box. Everybody has their own ways of operating.
The movie is Tysons Run. It's in theaters March the 4th and the 11th. Is that
Mhm.
right, Major?
Yes,
All right.
sir.
Major Dodson, thanks so much for being with us.
Thank you for having me.